Art has ennobled us, Yuri.
Your art comes from your culture. Culture has borders.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Nur Fatini Muhammad, and in this video, I'll be reviewing a recently released movie which opened nationwide this year on the 16th of January 2020. I will talk about 4 things: a bit of information on the film, my take on the actor's delivery and performance, my review on the visual and technical elements, as well as how the movie tackles the issues of identity in Malaysia. First and foremost, The Garden of Evening Mist is directed by Tom Lin Siew Yin, and this romance drama film tells the story of Teo Yun Ling in 3 timelines: the Japanese occupation, the early 1950s during the Malayan emergency, and the 1980s when Malaysia was already independent and established. This is a recollection of her journey from losing her little sister, being enslaved by the Japanese, to meeting the Japanese love interest, Aritomo, embracing her traumatic past and eventually losing him as well. This is a breathtaking story of a Malaysian Chinese retracing her identity amidst the peak of colonization. It is actually based on Tan Tuan Eng's novel of the same name that was published back in 2012, and it's produced by Astro Shaw, HBO Asia, supported by National Film Development Malaysia or FINAS in association with CG Entertainment. The movie stars Lee Seung-gi and Sylvia Chang as the protagonist, Yun Ling, and Hiroshi Abe as Aritomo Nakamura, the love interest. For your information, the movie was nominated for 9 international awards and won 1, which is Best Makeup and Costume Design. It's impressive for a Malaysian movie to be recognized globally, and I personally think that the actor's performance plays a huge part in it. If I had to rate the delivery and performance, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. The acting is exemplary, but there are reasons why I can't give it a full 10. Firstly, the movie utilizes 4 languages, primarily English, partially Malay, Chinese, and Japanese. The actors, most of them, are not native speakers of English, and some of the speeches are hard to listen, but the accents reflect the diversity of the movie, and I believe it actually adds to its charm. The movie feels very much Malaysian, and I love it for that.
You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching us work like this for you.
Secondly, the protagonist is just amazing. She is a fully fleshed female character, and her performance is the best among them all. You can feel all her emotions. I'm giving credit to both actors for her role. Both of them did a great job. As for the love interest, Aritomo, I understand that his character is supposed to be stoic, mysterious, aloof, and he was hostile to Yun Ling at first. Because of his character, they exchange words a little less, and their development is more focused on body language and facial expressions, which drowns the chemistry and makes their love feel a little forced. However, their performance is not to blame, but the script and the writing itself, I think. Based on this clip, without even saying anything, we can feel the intense exchange of looks between the two and feel their emotions. But if they had a few more lines together, it'd make their performance less stiff. I think the following scenes between the two compensate for the lack of chemistry, as they rely a lot more on physical touch in their performance. Although the focus of the movie is forbidden love, I think that the bond that Yun Ling has with her sister is more notable than hers with Aritomo. The scenes that they share together are tearjerkers, so I have to give credit to Serene Lim as Teo Yun Hong as well, and the movie would be completely bland without her. The other characters were also great, but they are yet to reach the level of Yun Ling and Yun Hong. Now, if we discuss the visual and technical elements, the cinematography is astounding. The film is shot in the tea plantations of Cameron Highlands, which contributes to its aesthetics thanks to Kartik Vijay. The film begins with Olden Yun Ling driving past these hills with a great opening score by On San and Nasran Nawi, which reflects the essence of drama in the movie. Not to forget, the Japanese culture is represented nicely in the movie, from the garden itself to the tatami. One of the things I'm most impressed by is the use of CGI or computer generated images when the tunnel was bombed, which actually seems realistic enough for a drama. It also showcases how much the film industry in Malaysia has developed during the recent years. The movie won Best Makeup and Costume Design, as I said just now, which fits the timeline and mood of the film. The Hirimono tattoo, which becomes the last piece of the puzzle to unravel the mystery at the end of the movie, is painted perfectly. The only problem with this movie is the fact that it uses 3 different timelines, but there is no clear indication given whenever they are switched from one to another. I find myself lost at times and I struggled to keep up with the movie, even though the pacing itself is quite slow. However, I think there is a significance to why it's done like this, and I'm going to explain it in the next section, the film's treatment of the issues of identity in Malaysia, in which I'm separating into 3 points: the main character, the language, and multiculturalism. Firstly, it's remarkable that the main character, Yun Ling, is a Malaysian Chinese woman. In Malaysia, the Malay community is always seen as the center because of the federal constitution, which promotes the status quo or ketuanan Melayu. But having a Chinese main character takes the marginalized back into the center. It's not making her as one who's more important, but bringing her back as a part of our history. Yunling shares the trauma of war and colonization as much as the others. The film emphasizes that someone as a part of the Chinese diaspora doesn't identify herself as an outsider, but as a Malaysian. She experiences the atrocities of the colonizers too. The fact that Yuling's story is being told non-linearly indicates the trauma and fragmented memories, which are also shown by mixing the timelines together without a clear indication of which timeline fits which. She even faces discrimination, being accused as a communist due to her Chinese looks, which makes her narrative just as important. We all share the same history, and that is a part of her identity as a Malaysian. Secondly, language is consequential to discuss the issues of identity. Although the movie is in English, perhaps to reach an international audience, the Malay language is spoken between the workers at Yugiri, or the Japanese garden, which comprises of Indians, Malays, and a Chinese, which is Yunling herself. The representation of other races are weak in the movie, since Indians and Malays exist only in Yugiri, but they speak Malay between each other. Although they work for Yugiri under a Japanese gardener, they share the same language and values when these people are working together, which reflects the national identity of Malaysia despite having English as the main language of the movie. Yugiri is understood as shake, or borrowed scenery, which symbolizes a land that is shared between different people. The fact that Yugiri is vulnerable to the weather, especially during the monsoon season, shows that the land itself resists colonial power. Is it a form of reinforcement on their personal identities as they refuse to fully succumb to the colonizers and maintain their dignity working under the Japanese? And that is reflected in their use of Malay. Thirdly, the movie relies a lot on the theme of multiculturalism. Yunhao's desire for a Japanese garden during the brutal Japanese occupation, Yunling accepting the tattoo to be drawn on her, and even falling in love with a Japanese man. We comprise of people from different races, ethnic, and even cultures. To put in colonizers versus the colonized is extreme, but I believe that there's a message here.
點解啲藥咁就係咁衰？ 你仲中意佢哋嘅花園嘅。
咁我中意嘅係花園，又唔係做花園嘅人。花園係我嘅，呢份愛都係我㗎嘛。
Although culture often segregates people, Malaysians need to learn how to integrate and accept each other. In order to unite, there must be a ground that we all can stand on, and that is represented by the presence of the colonizers in the movie. The Japanese gardener himself makes Yunling his apprentice, while she learns to build a Japanese garden for her sister. However, Yunhong's statement about the Japanese culture embodies our spirit of multiculturalism. Accepting and admiring other people's culture is not a crime but a concept of diversity. Malaysians can embrace and celebrate other races' culture without losing a sense of their identity. Overall, I'm rating this movie 7.5 over 10. Based on my review of the movie, I think it's safe to say that The Garden of Evening Mist is brilliantly done. The actors are amazing, the visuals and technicals are on point, and the story itself is engaging to keep me constantly on my toes. Quoting the author of the book, Tan Tuan Eng said, "I've seen it 5 times, which means that I have to check out the book next." I kept myself from reading the original source in fear that my review might be biased towards the book, but nothing's stopping me now. Before I end, if you haven't watched the movie, I'd recommend you to check it out because it's really a loss if you don't experience this cinematic masterpiece. That's all for this review. Until we meet again, inshallah. Thank you very much for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.